Welcome to the LumaCast, your premier gateway to the universe of limitless photo editing. Dive into the galaxy of Luminar software and the dynamic world of AI photo editing. Join us weekly for a burst of creativity and the drive to transform your photos with confidence and skill. Broadcasting directly from Clever Photographer headquarters, it's time to welcome your hosts, Jacob Bors and Holly Linton.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of LumiCast, our podcast where, as you just heard, we're talking about Luminar Neo, photography and photo editing. Yes, we are back with another episode. It's me, Jacob Bors, and also my great friend, Holly Linton. Hello, Holly.
Hi, Jacob. How's it going?
It's awesome. I'm so excited for another episode. So, yes, Holly, what are we going to do today?
Well, it was my idea. I was wondering if we should be talking about what people are doing with their pictures. We go through the effort of getting out there in the field and taking pictures all day, or, going on vacation and have all those images to edit and review. But what happens next? Are we just leaving them on our hard drive and nobody's getting to appreciate them? So we have a few ways of, our ideas of what we could or should be doing with our pictures.
Terabytes and terabytes of images which nobody will ever see. That's very common thing, I think, isn't it?
That's why I made a website, because I figured once I'm dead, at least somebody will finally see my pictures. My kids publish it in the newspaper.
I absolutely love this story. I love the idea that every photographer should make a special section in their will to instruct the people where to get the images from.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, so we have about, I think 6 or 7 points and ideas on what I think you could do with your photos. Exactly as Holly said, once you capture them and finish editing them. Some of them are probably something what people are already doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some are maybe new or things that people haven't tried before. So we're going to start with the first one and the most obvious one, which I think we're both doing, and that's sharing our images on social media. Now, social media, obviously, there is now never-ending list of platforms where you can share your images. But I guess from the top of the head, everybody's thinking about Facebook, Instagram, maybe Pinterest. I don't know if TikTok is necessarily a platform for images, but Facebook and Instagram are still quite main players when it comes to sharing images. So what do you use, Holly? Do you share your images on social media?
I do. I share them on my personal Facebook page, and then I am in a few of the Luminar groups, the Luminar photography group and a couple other spin-offs of that. I post them in the Lens Baby Unplugged group. And then I also use Luminar Insiders through Skylum's, through your login on Skylum. There are a bunch of different groups you can join on Luminar Insiders. It's like landscape, portrait, etc. So I post them there as well because it's just a nice community of Luminar users in there. And then you can see how everybody's images are improving or not over the months and years. So I'm not on Instagram. I know people have said, you need to be on Instagram, but it's just another social media I don't want to consume my time with. So, but I'll be curious to hear what you have to say about using Instagram. So really just basically the Facebook pages and Luminar Insiders is where I post mine.
One question to that. When you post the image, what is it you hoping to get from it? Is it just to share your work or maybe to get a feedback or maybe inspiration, or what do you think is behind the idea of sharing it on these platforms?
I think I'd like to put quotes with my pictures when I post them. So I guess there's always some kind of meaning behind it, or sort of just a positive phrase for the day type of thing, like maybe a pretty flower with just some kind of inspirational quote. So that's usually my thoughts behind it, or it could be on Wednesdays, I do a happy hump day post and try to do a picture, if it's of a camel or mountains or something that has a hump in it. So it's kind of comical as well, I guess, when I post my pictures. Sometimes I put a joke with it too.
The reason why I'm asking is because I think different people, different purpose, why they take their work and share it online. I'm more like you. I share the images because I really like them and I like to make people happy or create some emotions or just basically share a nice place around the world where people could go and travel, get some inspiration and so on.
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea about social media. Just very quickly touching on Instagram. I guess if you haven't had it until now, I think now it's probably just a step too late, not because you're too old for it.
Excuse me?
I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to somebody in the audience. But simply because the platform really drove away from being platform for sharing images. Yes, you can still share them, but honestly, the exposure is minimal unless you have a massive audience, talking like thousands. And even then, I see more and more big photographers. We're talking like hundreds of thousands of followers who turning their feed there into short videos or reels or stuff like that. It's just that platform is going much closer towards stuff like Snapseed or not Snapseed, TikTok and so on. And another one I think which is really cool is actually Pinterest. This is not as known and probably not as popular, but you can like create your boards with your own images. So for example, like butterflies or maybe France or Paris or London. And actually lots of people often interact with it and use it for boards and use it like a mood boards. And I think that can be a really cool way of sharing nice message with other people. So if somebody out there is looking for another space, I think Pinterest is still quite cool place to share your images. Which brings us nicely to the second point, and that is your portfolio website. So basically, we're talking about what to do with your images after you edit them. We talk about social media. And now, obviously, the next step would be to put your images on website. So Holly mentioned that you have a website, right?
Yes. I created it 3 years ago using SmugMug. I did a bunch of research to decide which platform to use and ended up using SmugMug. And as I was thinking about this last night, I realized that part of why I did that was because it was either Luminar AI or Luminar 4 where you could upload to SmugMug, but then after the next update, they did away with it. But regardless of that, it said it'll take you 15 minutes to get up and running with a website. Well, guess what? It took me 3 months, but it's because I wanted to customize how it all looked and everything. So it needed to be just so. So I added some nice elements to it. So I've had that for 3 years, but I realized, nobody's looking at it, which is fine. It's really a place where I could at least put my favorite images. And I also had the notion 3 years ago that if I ever dabbled with trying to earn some money as a photographer, the first thing somebody might say is, oh, do you have a website? Can I see your work?
Yeah, definitely.
So that was really my thought behind it. And it was just more of a personal goal to finish that. So as the years go by, I look at it and I update it and look at all the pictures I put on it and say, my gosh, I can't believe I put that picture on it. So it shows you how far you've come with your experience, and you can swap out all those photos that you once thought looked great. Now you realize you're a much better photographer and much better editor. And so I think it's just good to have so that you could just, show anybody, hey, take a look at my website if you're interested. You never know. Maybe it could help lead to something, in the future. And again, as I already said earlier, at least I know in my obituary, people will then finally look at my website.
That is very cool.
And know what a great photographer I was.
That's it. And you make sure that you change the password so then nobody can ever delete it neither, It just stays there forever.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Good. Oh, great. So 3 years ago, you made your website. So website itself.
Yes.
I think you're right. And I think if you're a professional photographer, if you're doing for a living, you need to have a website. And I think it needs to look apart. I think that is without a doubt, like people, I don't know, different professions have a certain tools they need to have. I think photographer, a part of this camera gear needs to have a website with properly curated portfolio because lots of companies out there, lots of clients, that will be the first place they go for. Maybe people to take it more as a hobby, or I don't think that if you're just starting with photography, that's the first thing you need to do. But if you've been doing photography for a few years, I think it's definitely something that not only is quite cool to have because you can show it to people. I was sitting at the dinner with a lady who's been photographing for 20 years and she's like all this passionate about photography. And then I asked, can I see your image? Mm-hmm. And she doesn't have a social media because she doesn't believe in them. And she doesn't have a website because she hasn't managed to build it yet. So all she's doing, she's showing me these like little images on her phone, and you're like, it's a shame because clearly if you're doing it 20 years, you're really passionate about it. And next to it, I think there really are very affordable options to build a website. It doesn't need to cost fortune. So definitely I think website is a cool thing. Cool. So with that, we moving to maybe more interesting or unusual ways to use your images. And the first one is photographic contests. So photographic contests, we can talk about the like really official one where you sending your images and there are judges and maybe you need to print your images and it's very serious, which can be fun for some people. But then there are some other photographic competitions where basically you can just upload the images and then there are other photographers who uploaded the photos there who are judging the photos. And at the end of it, you can win or no. Basically, it's just give you feedback on how other photographers or other people see your images. So I think both of them are interesting. It just depends which one you prefer. Have you ever tried competition, Holly?
I have. I've entered some contests. I've actually been published 3 times as a result, but in the South Carolina Grand Strand magazine, they had a contest a few years back. And it was actually, I'll say more than a few years back because I was using a point and shoot at that time. And I ended up getting published just one of my flower pictures in that magazine 2 years in a row. So I was surprised, but I guess happy. And then I entered the Che magazine contest a few years back, and I actually got first place in the nature section of it. And then overall was like the 4th runner up. And I got $100 Visa gift card and my picture in the magazine. So I was pretty excited about that. And that was only when I was just using Luminar for, I guess it was probably about 4 years ago. So I was only 1 year into editing. So that would be my experience. I did try to hang, like I brought some pictures into to hang at an actual show at an art center. And so that was my first experience of printing and framing and everything. And they got rejected. And then you have to pay money, to enter just to get them submitted. And then I just paid, $76 to be rejected. But I look at those pictures too, and I'm like, what was I thinking? So it's good to, I guess, try these things, to go out of your comfort zone and enter some things and get the rejection. So that's really all what I would have to say about that.
Cool.
Of course, I know you're an award-winning photographer. You must have medals and trophies all around your room.
That was early at the beginning of my photography journey. I was more photographing than selling. I was very much just all in. Pretty much every free time I would have, I would take a camera and go out there. And then every night I would be up until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and just editing my pictures and trying different things. And every day I would make myself like a promise that every day I spend 15 minutes to 30 minutes watching tutorials just about photography or photo editing. Like every day, different photographer, different things. And when you do it for 2-3 years, actually, eventually you learn quite a lot about photography. So that was cool. And the editing, if you for 2-3 years just spend almost every evening over editor, and then when you with your camera out all the time, that really helped. And this was when I was living on the Isle of Skye, and I had a quite cool group of photographers around me as well, who in a way helped me to prepare for the competitions, because that's maybe something I will mention in a moment, but there is some of the bigger competitions are quite specific to what the judges are looking for. And it's not necessarily something that So for example, this year, there's a massive focus on the Northern Lights, because last year was one of the best time ever to photograph Northern Lights in UK. Basically, you could see them from here in Chichester, which is south of England, and that was unheard of. There were people flying in the planes and they were able to photograph them. So I know that the judges are really heavily looking for those, because, when else you gonna, celebrate such an occasion? So that's just stuff you don't know unless you know somebody who is around it. So yes, I won the Landscape Photographer of the Year in British Photography Awards and stuff like that. But definitely, if you want to try it, there is a platform which I would definitely suggest, which is called PhotoCrowd. You can actually join for free and you can send your images to different categories of competition or contents there, and you can get pretty good feedback there. And generally, if the photo is doing well, means that you can then take it and maybe use it for other competitions. So if you want to start with competitions or contests, this PhotoCrowd platform is, I think for me, still one safe space where you can start. And initially, you don't have to pay any money. On that note, we will move to printing, because you already mentioned anyway that you printed your photo. And I think for me, out of all of these, printing your photo is one of the most important things, because there is nothing like holding your image in your hands, regardless what medium you print it on. I'm actually quite big fan of canvas, because I don't know why, I just like paintings. I like old paintings. So I guess that's a connection with it. But professionally framed image in a nice glass, in a nice frame. When you get it in your hand, when like the person who's framing it or whatever, give it to you, when you look at it, it's like an emotional moment, I have to say, there is no compare to get your image printed compared to looking at it on a screen. Another thing comes with it. I also know that when you start printing your images, again, you will learn whole new skill, because actually quite often the image will look differently on your screen, and then it will look differently when you print it. So I think it can be lots of fun. And I'll just finish from my side. I have printed lots of my pictures, as I say, on canvas, but also for galleries on like a massive prints, like 0.5 meter on 0.5 meter behind a glass and frame. And it can be lots of fun and it's amazing. So what about you, Holly? How about you and framing and printing?
Well, I guess I've avoided it. It's just a whole new beast, as you would say. I tried, when I had my SmugMug website, I first started it as a shop so that people could buy my images. Well, guess what? The first 2 images that people wanted to buy, they wanted like an 8x10 or a ratio that then cropped off part of my composition. So that's when I learned how important it is to, when you're editing, to use the proper ratio, know ahead of time what size print or frame, you're going to be using. And I also felt kind of bad as far as the markup of the pricing. I'm a person who loves to get the best deal and use coupons. I felt bad. Like, how could somebody pay, $50 for an 8x10 or whatever? I was like, who's even really going to buy that? But so I closed down that part of my SmugMug initially. As far as the few things I've printed for myself so far, I have printed a canvas, and I got like a 20x20 canvas for $19.99 from this place called Canvas Champs. Have you heard of that?
I never heard about that.
I'll have to send you a picture of it so you could tell me if it turned out good or not.
Which room is it in?
Well, it's currently in the laundry room.
Same.
But having moved to a new home in the last 6 months, I do plan to print something and hang it on the wall finally, because 10 years in New Jersey, I never hung anything on the wall. So it's definitely in my near future. I want to print something, more than one thing. So I guess I'd say my experience is pretty low with it. Back in the day, I would get prints from the rolls of film. But other than that, since everything's just on my computer and we go back to our first topic of what are we even doing with it? They're all just kind of sitting there on my computer right now. But I do want to make some nice creations and print some things one day. And I'll have to decide if canvas maybe is the right way to go. I know people print on metal and wood and all sorts of things. But I'd hate to print it and then have it look horrible also. Like you said, I guess calibrating, that's why calibrating your monitor is important, right?
Calibrating, as well as the right exporting settings, which brings us nicely to the fact that next week episode will be focusing on exporting and exporting settings. So if you're interested in printing, definitely come back to that. It will be important one, I think. So you're right. Yeah, it's tricky because you can spend lots of money on a print and then it comes and it doesn't look like anything what you were hoping for, especially the bigger sizes. That can be tricky. And we'll talk about selling the art a little bit later. So I guess that's more for the printing itself. Yes, I understand that first it's costly and then it's kind of doubtful, but I would definitely suggest you to try it. I think it can be really cool. I know that you also have a thing with color matching, right? Like you have a certain color scheme.
I like things to match. So a lot of my flower pictures are so colorful, orange and purple. And I'm like, I don't have any of those colors in my house. So I feel like it's not going to match. I guess you could do a brown frame or try to do something to neutralize it. But I think maybe I'll do some kind of composite, a butterfly composite that's sort of just tan and gray, and just try to create what I want versus just taking a colorful picture. Like the butterfly one that's hanging in the laundry room doesn't really match, but I just didn't want it sitting in the basement. I thought it deserved to be hung on the wall.
On that note, definitely go and try to print your images. At least try one. If anything, try to print one image on canvas, people out there, because it's just a special experience, I think. And if you don't like it, give it to your uncle, nephew, or whatever.
Give it to Goodwill.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so we are on a fourth point, which is a great timing for a quick break. We're going to let our add-on, and then we'll be back with 3 more ways on how you can use your images once you're done editing.
If you're listening to the LumaCast podcast, then we share something in common. We love editing photos, and we love Luminar. It's almost breathtaking what this amazing tech can do for you. On our website, you'll find countless different things to help you be more creative than you ever thought imaginable. From our photo manipulation masterclass to our power bundle with 986 elements, our essential preset bundle, editing software and extensions to our tutorials. Harness the power at the website at www.cleverphotographer.com/Luminar. Again, that's cleverphotographer.com/Luminar. Now, back to LumaCast.
And we are back to second part of our podcast episode where we're talking about how to use your images or what to do with your photos once you're done editing them. We have 3 more points, and the first one is following on the last point when it comes to printing, but this time we're talking about printing your images as a gift. For example, you could print puzzle. You could make a puzzle out of your image, or you could make like a little, how you call it, tote bag, the thing you go for shopping with, tote bag. You could make your image there, and then every time your partner goes for shopping, she can maybe remember that you were there or you captured this image. So there's lots of different things you can do. So tote bags, mugs, calendars are really popular. I think lots of photographers print calendars and give it to their family, which I think can be super cool. You can also make your notebooks, have your image on the front page. So I think that can be really nice as well. And then, of course, there's a whole sorts of other things like postcards, greeting cards, wish cards, and so on. So there's so much you can do if you don't mind your photography be part of these kind of items. And it can be lots of fun. Holly, have you ever tried anything like that?
I have made like little Christmas ornaments. Dollar Tree has these round, clear plastic balls that you could slide a picture into.
Cool.
So I remember doing that when my kids were younger. Each year I'd put their picture in it and put the year on the ornament. And I have made shirts with, I recently made a shirt for my upcoming Luminar Neo presentation where I put one of my photographs on the shirt and put the words Luminar Neo on it. I used Etsy, one of the Etsy stores made that shirt for me. So, but otherwise, I did make a flag once with a picture. It actually had one of your spring bundle frames around it.
Cool.
But the flag ended up fading away in the sun too much. So I've dabbled with a few customized items, but not too many. But so I think you're right. There's so many. Calendars would be a great idea to do an annual calendar.
Again, you can basically like create a project where every month of the year you capture an image, your January, February, March. And then when you make the calendar, you kind of have an image which corresponds with that season. So you kind of start this year and next year you will have a calendar with that, which I think can be really cool.
Yeah, that is a good idea. There's so many good ideas, but it's like you put it on your to-do list and you never do it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that is a great idea. So for next year, is it too late to start a 2025 calendar?
In June? It's never too late.
No, it's not. I should already have the first few months' pictures ready.
Now, talking about the gifts, I have to say one thing here, and I think you kind of touched on that. The quality of the product really vary, right? I mean, we both had experience when even like printing shirts, some of them come out really cool and some of them are just so poor. And that goes for printing on mugs and bags and water bottles and, like your covers for phones. You really have to try and see, like lots of companies will have some kind of written policy and you can send it back. For example, I use some products from Vistaprint, which is, I'm sure it's in States as well. It's this company which focuses on printing on paper mostly, but they also do some custom items. And when there is anything wrong with the product, you can really go back them. You just show them the picture and they even let you keep it and they send you a brand new one or they refund you. So that's the kind of service you're looking for if you're going to order any of these gifts, because I think the quality can be really hit and miss. So I don't think there's anything wrong with like using your images for these type of items, but you still want to have at least like a decent quality of it, I think. And from top of my head, I think Snapfish, that's in UK, that is a really cool platform which can do that. And the quality is generally really good. Photobox, I tried in past, and also Optimal Print. So those 3 are really good platforms. I think some of them are in States as well. And I can say that I tried all three of them and the result was really, really good. So definitely before you go ahead and order your 20 puzzles because they have great deal, make sure that you order one and see how the quality is and go through the reviews because I think that's really important. So printed gifts. Yeah. So not only that you print your photos and put them on your own walls, you can use gifts and give it to people around you, which actually you can do with prints as well, right? You can print your image, frame it, and you can still give it to somebody as a gift. It's totally doable. So that's printed gifts or print gifts. Now we have 2 more points. Next one, because we talk about lots of printing, right? Printing on glass and frame it and printing gifts. Next one is actually inspired by my sister who kind of reused the idea of the digital frames. Now, in past digital frames, first, they were not great quality and they were usually quite small. So it wasn't probably too interesting for us photographers. But actually, my sister managed to find digital frame in like A4 or letter size. And now she has it in her living room. And she's not a photographer, but she likes to take pictures. So when she has a picture she really likes, she adds there. And basically, anytime I go there and we sit and we're having coffee, it's always like a great conversation opener. You know, I look at this thing and I say, oh, you've been in London. What did you think? Or you went to this place. What did you think? And I think none of us can print all of our images around the house, right? Because it's just not possible. There's not enough space and it would cost fortune. And I think this is quite cool additional idea on how to display your images, even if it's just for yourself, maybe having one next to your desk where like your favorite pictures are rotating. I think that can be really cool. And yes, they can be a little bit pricey, but it's only the initial investment and then it's just going to be there forever. So I think as an inspiration or as an alternative to printing and printing gifts, the digital frame can be quite a good idea. Have you ever tried the digital frame?
Years ago. I'll just say that, years ago. And just like you said, the quality wasn't that great or it's just too small of a frame.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked since to see what's out there today. So maybe your sister have to give us the link to the one she uses.
She actually gave me 2 brands, so I will mention them. But so one of them is Nix Play Smart Frame. I will actually add it to the description. Not link, I don't have a link, but it's called Nix Play Smart Frame. And the other one is called Aura Frame, like Aura Frame. So apparently those 2 are pretty cool. So definitely something to try. Again, it's like order it and see, but I can't see how you could go wrong with it because they improved massively from exactly as Holly said, the times when they were heavy and small and not great quality.
And I know like our smart TV has a USB port. No reason we can't put tons of pictures on a thumb drive and have it cycling on your TV. And that's something it's been on my to-do list for years and just haven't done it. So that's another way then it's on a giant screen.
You just have to have it on all the time.
Right. Yeah, I guess so.
Right. Yes, that's the only thing. But I feel like there is an episode coming about Holly's never-ending list. We should just go through all the things which are on the photography list. Well, anyway, we are heading nicely towards the end because we only have last point. And I mean, it's obvious we've gone through all these ideas on how to share your images or what to do with them. And most of them are just basically for yourself or, just to have a fun with your photography. But lots of photographers out there would like to make a little bit of money with photography as well, simply because it can be a pricey hobby. I know that you can kind of go around and try to save, but regardless, once you fall into it, for example, Holly and her Lens Baby Lens, she used coupon codes, but you probably still spent like 1,000 or maybe over 1,000 on all the lenses. What do you think? Just for the baby lens?
Yeah, it is an expensive hobby if you have an addictive personality.
Yes, definitely. Etsy is a great platform to sell your pictures. And actually now you can connect your Etsy account with the printing company. So when the customer order it automatically go order the prints and send it to the customer, which can be cool. Then there is other things. It's called Not on the High Street. You can also sell your images there. And then there is one more, something about America. What is it called, Holly? Not Good Morning America. There is another platform where you can sell your photos. And it has an America in a name. I should have been more prepared. Fine Art America, that's what it's called. And so that's also a really cool platform where you have to be quite active there because you can do lots of like an audience and sending posts and sharing things. But if you do that, you can make quite decent money with it. I know a lady who is based in States, somewhere in Venice. Is it in Florida?
Yes, Venice, Florida.
Yes. So she's based there and she basically just go around the same areas over and over and photograph them in a beautiful light and beautiful colors. And she sold them on this Fine Art America and people just buy them for like living rooms and cafes and Does she make thousands a month? No, but she makes maybe 500-600 a month, which I think is pretty cool,
Right.
So you can do that. But I think, as I said at the beginning, the key here when it comes to selling your work is really important to be realistic about it, give it the time, and then make it work over the time. Don't think that you will become rich overnight, because that way you will avoid to get the heartbreak, which I've seen just way too many times. Well, anyway, Holly, anything else to add on this?
No, I mean, we've talked a lot about it.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess, well, one bottom line then would be, is it good enough if you're just enjoying taking pictures and editing and doing nothing with them? Is that okay?
It's definitely okay. The key is, if you find with it, don't let anybody tell you should do more. But the question is, what is it? What happens when you sit there and you have exactly this thought? And now what I do with the images? That's when we step in with our ideas and help you. But if you perfectly find it, because I have a few students, photographers, who are introverts and they don't want to share their images. They don't want to show them to anybody. They just want to go photograph, edit, keep it for them. And that's perfectly fine. There is all of these guru sayings about how you are not photographer until you share your images, for example. That's one of them. Share or print your images. And that's it's just so wrong to say these things. It's like, also another one I hate is, you're not a real photographer until you use manual settings on your camera.
Yes, I see that all the time.
Don't let anyone tell you what to do. And also, let me not get started on this. Folks, that's it for today. So I hope this was inspirational, and hopefully it gives you some ideas on what you can do with your photos. If you have maybe an additional ideas on what to do, you can definitely write it in the comment section under this podcast, wherever you listening to us. We will be back next week with the topic we already talked about. We will be talking about exporting, really important part when it comes to the process of you finish editing, you need to export your photo. So we want to talk about the different formats, your JPEGs, your TIFF files, your everything. And then we will give you also the actual settings for how you should set up your export when you want to export your image, maybe for large prints, maybe for social media, for your website, and other things. Anyway, my name is Jacob Boris. It was such a pleasure next to me. Holly, did you enjoy it today?
Yes, it was very good. So
great. I'll see you next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap. Now, there's only 3 things left to do. Subscribe to this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Visit our website at cleverphotographer.com/Lumicast to see what we have in store next. And stay creative and keep editing your photos no matter what anyone says.